Hello, I'm John Bachman. Police and community tension rising again in Missouri, this time just miles from Ferguson, after an off-duty officer shoots and kills a suspect in St. Louis. The assistant police chief there says the officer, who was in uniform but working for a private security company, started running after a man who looked like he had a gun.
At which time the young man pulled a weapon and shots were fired. The officer returned fire, and unfortunately the young man was killed.
Well, after that, about 200 protesters took to the streets, at times shouting and kicking police cars. No one was arrested. The officer who opened fire is a 6-year veteran of the St. Louis police force. He was not hurt. And tests are being run on another possible Ebola patient in Texas. A sheriff's deputy who went into the Dallas apartment where Thomas Duncan stayed is now showing some symptoms. Of course, Duncan died yesterday after battling Ebola for over a week. Dallas health officials are monitoring about 4 dozen people who also came in contact with Duncan. But this sheriff's deputy was not on that list. This all comes, of course, as federal officials are launching new Ebola screening procedures at a handful of American airports for travelers arriving from West African countries at the heart of the outbreak.
Specifically, the enhanced screening will consist of targeted questions, temperature checks, and collection of contact information of travelers from the 3 affected countries.
They start Saturday at New York's JFK Airport and then will continue throughout the weekend and for a period of time at 4 other airports as well around the country: Newark, Dulles, O'Hare, and Atlanta as well. Nearly 70 people are dead after a pair of suicide bombings in Yemen today. One of the capital of Sana'a was set off in the middle of a gathering of supporters of the Shia rebels who recently overran the city. Another at a military checkpoint in southern Yemen killed at least 20 soldiers. Dozens more were hurt. No claims of responsibility yet, but experts say this has all the trademarks of an al-Qaeda attack. President Obama has been talking about the fight against ISIS with Pentagon leaders.
It remains a difficult mission. As I've indicated from the start, this is not something that is going to be solved overnight.
Well, but the president's handling of ISIS has come under criticism from several sides, including former President Jimmy Carter. In an interview with the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, he says President Obama has vacillated and is hard to figure out exactly what his policy is. And NBC is refusing to comment on a report that they wanted to hire Jon Stewart away from Comedy Central to host Meet the Press. New York Magazine says the Peacock Network held talks with the comedian about taking over for David Gregory, but Stewart declined. The move away from a traditional journalist as moderator would have been a major shift for the longest-running series in TV history, which has suffered ratings challenges recently. Another update for you in 30 minutes. Now back to America's 4.